Honourable member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
8 years of Liberal NDP incompetence, doubling the national debt, resulting in the most rapid mortgage interest rate hikes in Canadian history, putting Canadians most at risk in the G7 for a mortgage default crisis. Around 70,000 mortgages are renewing every month with a minimum of at least a doubling in interest rate. Expensive photo ops don't help either, like a $4 billion housing photo op that built a whopping 0 homes. I mean, the member from Vancouver Granville probably flipped more homes than that. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Will he stop his inflationary deficits and balance the budget so Canadians don't lose their homes?
L'honorable ministre du Logement.
Mr. Speaker, it's been fascinating to watch the Conservatives make misguided criticisms about the Housing Accelerator Fund because they fear that it's actually going to create more homes for Canadians. They are rooting against home building in this country for their political interests rather than supporting policies that will put a roof over their neighbours' heads. Mr. Speaker, where the Conservatives promise to cut funding for housing, we will continue to make the investments necessary. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to approach the housing crisis, and Canadians will find relief from the measures that we are putting forward on this side of the House.
L'honorable député de Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Housing Accelerator Fund closed on August 18th. No money left, no bright ideas coming from the Liberal government. But after 8 years of this NDP Liberal government, seniors in my riding are losing their homes and joining the ranks of the homeless. Everything is being driven up in costs by their inflationary spending. Bloomberg reports over half of Canadians are saying they're worse off this past year. And with winter coming and the carbon tax piling up, people know that this Prime Minister is just not worth the cost. So will they stop their inflationary spending so Canadians can have a roof over their heads?
L'honorable ministre du Logement.
Mr. Speaker, it's hard to know where to start with the various pieces of misinformation baked into my colleague's question. With respect, she suggested that that seniors need to have more homes, but her housing plan literally includes zero mention of seniors. Whoa. She suggested that the Housing Accelerator Fund has no money left in it. I would invite her to tune into an announcement that we will be making in Kelowna tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We are going to continue to make the investments necessary by reducing the cost of building, investing in the ability of communities to build homes. Where we will make investments, the Conservatives will make cuts. They are simply not worth the risk.
L'honorable député de Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And announcements do not build homes, and this government has built less homes than in 1972. However, in my riding, I have people that are both working that are not able to have any heat in their house for the last 2 months because of the price that this government continues to drive up with their inflationary spending. The Liberals are so out of touch, they're pouring the money on the inflationary fire and causing misery. Will the Prime Minister rein in his inflationary spending, or is the truth that this government and this Prime Minister is just not worth the cost?
L'honorable ministre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just last week, that member from Sarnia-Lambton repeated some myths about EVs here in this House, where she said that they routinely catch on fire and don't work in the winter. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that we actually stay grounded in the facts, what this government is doing and will continue to do. That includes lifting 2.7 million Canadians out of poverty, which is 650,000 children. It means putting a price on pollution and making sure that we're there for Canadians as the climate crisis persists, and we're there and we have their backs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charleville-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, an Angus Reid report tells us that half of Canadians are worse off financially than they were a year ago, and that they expect things to get even worse this year. That is the reality after 8 years of this government. Worse still, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' allies, the Bloc Québécois, are putting on the pressure to radically increase the tax on gas and food. It's getting real expensive to vote Bloc Québécois, Mr. Speaker. Will the Liberals show an iota of compassion and commit not to raise the carbon tax, as requested by the Bloc Québécois? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And once again, there is not a federal carbon pricing in Quebec. That is false, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are preoccupied by the cost of living and by climate change and by the catastrophic impact of natural disasters on our health and on our economy. That is the reason for which we have created a pollution pricing system that meets these concerns. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. What we know, Mr. Speaker, is that after 8 years of this Prime Minister, people are scared of finding themselves on the street twice. Not once, but twice. The Bloc Québécois voted against a motion that asked that the carbon taxes be cancelled. The federal carbon tax that has led to huge increases on gas prices for Quebecers. Can the Prime Minister commit, like his member for Avalon did, to cancel the carbon tax, which only increases costs for all Canadians and Quebecers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And incredibly so, I have to repeat myself, there is no carbon pricing federally in Quebec. Conservatives campaigned on a programme that included a standard on clean fuel, almost identical to that proposed by our government, but now, all of a sudden, they're against it. This attitude is not only hypocritical, it shows us that we cannot trust them when it comes to them respecting their claims for climate action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.